Este é o Rivalidades. A seguir, Tottenham Hotspur contra Arsenal. Uma rivalidade do norte de Londres com muita história.
There's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of joy.
It does put an extra spark into the game.
It's a fierce rivalry, it always has been, it always will be. Whenever the two teams meet, however they are positioned in the league.
If we are behind in front, or 10 points behind or 10 points ahead, when you play Tottenham, it's always a special game.
There's always going to be a fierce competition between the two clubs.
You're so keyed up for that game, all you want to do is win the game.
It's a big one, it goes back a long way, and on the day of the game, there's a different feel about it.
Curto passeio de ônibus pela famosa Seven Sisters Road separa Arsenal e Tottenham Hotspur. Mesmo os torcedores vivem na mesma região, podem ser até das mesmas famílias. É essa proximidade que faz da rivalidade do norte de Londres uma das mais ferozes do futebol inglês.
Tremendous anticipation and the fear of losing. People want to win that game. They want to be able to be proud over the guy that works next to him because of the fact that he gets the laugh. And that is where what they really don't like is someone taking a mickey and really putting you through it.
Há 13 clubes da liga com base em Londres, mas apenas 2 mantêm uma rivalidade tão passional. Arsenal e Tottenham Hotspur. E os sentimentos são fortes.
That's the best picture in London. Look at that.
Mas Arsenal contra Tottenham nem sempre foi o derby do norte de Londres. As raízes do Arsenal são de Woolwich, sudeste de Londres.
We don't really forget that our origins sort of are in Woolwich and Plumstead. But whilst we're respectful and understand where we come from, ultimately we're now the pride of North London.
O Arsenal era o time do Royal Gunnery e jogou suas primeiras partidas aqui em 1886. Quando o time se tornou um clube, eles saíram do sudeste de Londres e foram para o norte, Highbury.
Arsenal. Yeah man, best team. Every time Arsenal.
O Arsenal invadiu o território dos e torcedores como Daniel Wayne sempre suspeitaram dos Gunners de Woolwich.
It's well documented. They are a South London club, so arguably it's not even a North London derby.
A mudança do Arsenal para o novo Emirates Stadium em 2006 levou à criação de outra teoria dos Spurs.
They are the travelling club. They are the gypsies, if you like. They can't settle anywhere. They were in South London, North London, and now they've gone from Highbury again. They've gone over to their new stadium. They're just not settled. So in 1913, we were in North London. We were established. That was our base. That was our home. And they came in on our doorstep. They wanted what we've got. They wanted what we've had, and that's a consistent message right the way throughout history.
They've always said that Tottenham are the only true North London club. Arsenal are a South London club that moved to North London. It's an angle they've always had, but it smells of desperation for me a little bit.
Norte de Londres, sul de Londres. Os melhores momentos para os fãs dos dois lados é quando eles
They try and find another angle to perhaps get their upper hand on Arsenal fans.
Herbert Chapman, one of their greatest managers arguably, he was an established player at Tottenham. Why have they got white sleeves on their shirts? Again, it's well documented. Herbert Chapman wanted to recreate the flair of Tottenham.
It smells, as I say, of desperation.
White represents Tottenham, white represents good, white represents purity. Tottenham play pure football, Arsenal don't.
Mas se tudo isso soa como discussão do norte, os fãs do Tottenham ao menos têm um rancor genuíno. É só lembrar de 1919, quando o Arsenal estava na segunda divisão.
They bought their way into the top league. They finished, I think, 5th in the old second division. Tottenham finished in the relegation places, and history and precedent showed that the team that finished in the top division would keep their place. But somehow, don't ask me how, brown paper bags again maybe, but brown paper bags were exchanged and somehow Arsenal bought the top division.
It's very much part of history. As you can imagine, as Arsenal fans, when we read that story, it makes us laugh, it makes us smile, it makes us smirk, because it was at the expense of Tottenham.
Foi então que a grande rivalidade começou. Os Gunners dominaram o começo do século sob a administração do grande Herbert Chapman, com 5 títulos e 2 FA Cups ganhas dos anos 30. Mas quando chegaram os anos 60, o poder atravessou o norte de Londres. O Tottenham, com Bill Nicholson, era um time admirável, independentemente do seu time do coração.
When I arrived at the Arsenal as a 17-year-old 5 million years ago, I've got to confess now that I spent a hell of a lot of time watching Tottenham, because in those days, if we had our players pass from the Arsenal or any other London club, we could go to an opposition ground and get in for free.
As a young boy, I wanted to go to Spurs because that was my team. I used to actually go to the games. I mean, I was at school at the time, but obviously with the clubs pursuing you to get you to sign, you used to get tickets and go to the game.
Era o auge dos Spurs, quando multidões apareceram para ver o time de Bill Nicholson em 1961, liderado por Danny Blankenfeld.
The double side, which had Dave Mackay and Cliff Jones and Blanche Flowers and so forth, I felt that was the best football I'd seen. It's so fast and beautiful, and used to go to games, and the atmosphere in that ground, I don't think I quite get it the same as with those European nights at Spurs. They were absolutely amazing.
Esses foram os dias de glória em White Hart Lane, e as consequências foram vistas por todo o norte de Londres.
Of course we were envious, we were jealous. They played superb football. They were successful in Europe. Everything was going for them.
Tottenham had the best of everything. I mean, in those days, if any player was up for sale, the very, very best, it would be Tottenham would be the front runner. I think Everton was another club, and Arsenal, but and Man United, but Tottenham were the big hitters when it comes to the finances of, I mean, they did buy some wonderful players, there's no doubt about it.
O sucesso do Spurs criava uma atmosfera eletrizante nos dias de derby.
In the 60s, it was no different really, because the only one thing in their mind is winning that game. And the streets were packed very early on. They wanted to savour the atmosphere. And basically you couldn't wait for that kick-off. And I would say the support had been thinking about it for weeks, maybe before the game that I played the previous week, because it's coming up. And that's all that's talked about, and that's all is to get that one over on your local rivalry.
Mais competitivos como eram, adversários como George Graham e Terry Venables eram ótimos amigos fora do campo.
It was my first marriage, and I got married in the morning. My best man was Terry Venables, who was playing for Tottenham in the afternoon. We got married in the morning. I left the reception, Terry and I. We both went to Highbury to play the game, and then went back to the reception in the evening again.
Bicampeonato dos Spurs em 1961 foi igualado pelo Arsenal 10 anos depois em uma vitória na final da Copa em 1971 contra o Liverpool. Mas antes venceram a Liga com uma vitória por 1-0 em White Hart Lane.
There was many great games, and obviously the game that we played when we had to win the championship was at White Hart Lane. There was, I don't know, 50,000 there, maybe more, but there was at least 40 to 50,000 locked out. And I've never seen so many people try to get in a match in all my career. It was just absolutely heaving 2 hours before the game. A fantastic match, a long, hard season. We needed to win it to win the championship, and we just managed to do that as well.
I come from a family of Arsenal supporters, and my dad and my uncle were at White Hart Lane in '71 when they ended up locking the gates an hour before kick-off, when essentially they'd let as many people in as they possibly could. When Ray Kennedy scored in the 85th minute, my dad always tells me the story of how he ended up on the pitch with the 25 or 30,000 or so Arsenal fans that squeezed in that night.
It changes from decade to decade. Early 60s, Tottenham were doing everything and playing wonderful football, delightful, and having all the success. We were having a struggle. Then our time came the Fairs Cup, then 71, the double, etc.
Além da mudança de sorte, houve também outra mudança para o próprio Terry Neill. Tudo começou com um telefonema surpreendente.
I still to this day don't know why the board of Tottenham Hotspur in the mid-70s asked me to take over the bill. Totally understandable that the Tottenham fans, we've got an ex-Arsenal captain replacing the great Bill Nicholson, and they were bottom of the league. Death threats, hate mail by the ton, abusive phone calls, people queuing in the car park before and after games to stick one on me, and that was their own fans. We stayed up in the very last game of the season. So, as I say, human nature being what it is, instant hero.
Entretanto, para um ex-herói do Arsenal, a estadia de Terry Neill em White Hart Lane não seria prolongada.
It broke my heart to leave Tottenham, but it was just simply a question. I could not get on with the directors, and I just felt much too young to die.
Terry só tinha um caminho a seguir, de volta para Seven Sisters Road.
And then suddenly I got the call, would I like to have lunch with Dennis Elwood, who'd been like a father to me at the Arsenal when I arrived as a 17-year-old. A couple of industrial-size gin and tonics out in the lawn, summertime, beautiful summer of 76. Welcome back. I was at long last, as I felt, certainly, at home.
Não foi apenas Terry Neill que cumpriu sua jornada no Arsenal. Pat Jennings, o leiro do Spurs, também fez sua mudança.
Probably the best bit of transfer business that I ever did was taking him across that divide from Tottenham to Arsenal. When I signed Pat and gave him a 4-year contract, there were nods and winks all over the place. Oh, well, Terry and Pat have played the Northern Ireland team for years, the old pals act and everything like that. In truth, 8 years later, Pat Jennings was still in the Arsenal first team, still playing international football, and I was gone.
A qualidade e a popularidade de Jennings permitiram que ele atravessasse Londres e mantivesse amigos dos dois lados.
We'll welcome them. Because if players move from Tottenham to Arsenal, we generally only take their very best players. I mean, Pat Jennings was a goalkeeping legend and revered by both teams.
Spurs fans are reasonable people. Pat Jennings did it, but he's been welcomed back with open arms, okay?
Mas não era sempre tão amigável quando mudava de lado para se unir ao rival. A mudança de Sol Campbell do Tottenham para o Arsenal em julho de 2001 mais uma vez dividiu o norte de Londres. Campbell era a joia do time de Spurs.
I think the headlines when Sol Campbell left was the ultimate act of betrayal. Not only did he lie to the Tottenham supporters by saying he wasn't going to go anywhere.
Up to the last day, many Tottenham fans were very confident that Sol was going to stay and extend his stay, and then he ends up taking 100 grand a week to move to their most bitter rivals, Arsenal. Now, that is the ultimate crime.
Speaking to a couple of Spurs fans I'm very good friends with, sadly deep down they understand that he had to leave Tottenham because he was a world-class centre-back and he had no place being at Tottenham, because a world-class centre-back deserves more than finishing 11th and going out in the first round of the Cup every year.
The fact he went to them, yeah, that's what really hurt us. The fact that he's always said he was a Tottenham fan through and through, and you know, the height of his career basically, to uproot and go over to that lot, that's what really hurt.
De volta aos anos 70, o Arsenal estava se estabelecendo rapidamente como uma grande potência do futebol londrino. Terry Neill trouxe de volta os laterais para o White Hart Lane em 1978. O famoso ataque de Liam Brady e os dribles de Alan Sunderland ajudaram os Gunners na vitória por 5-0 sobre o Tottenham. Em 1986, o Arsenal fez uma mudança crucial. George Graham, que tinha acabado de ser reconhecido como jogador do Arsenal, se tornou seu dirigente mais pragmático.
Early 90s, we were playing good football again, and then George Graham, the side that he created that won the cups in the mid-90s, again were classed as extremely negative, and every football fan said they didn't like watching Arsenal.
O Arsenal ficou conhecido como um time entediante de se ver, mas os fãs, jogadores e dirigentes nunca se cansavam dos troféus que ganhavam.
All you heard from the George Graham years were, okay, you're winning, but you're boring. And we were. winning. We were very, very boring. I don't think anyone can sort of take that away from George Graham's teams.
Isso não poderia ter acontecido em White Hart Lane. Desde os dias de glória nos anos 60, os torcedores do Spurs insistiam em um futebol com certo estilo.
They expected a certain brand of football, and that makes it harder because you can say, well, I just want to win. I just want to win. We'll block the goal. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll do that, and we'll get a goal. And I'm not saying that in the case of the Arsenal. To be fair, I think Arsenal had some terrific players who happened to be excellent defenders, and they didn't give many goals away, and they didn't make any bones about it. I know in the end it is all about winning, but there's also a responsibility of entertainment. It is an entertainment too.
Contudo, os torcedores tinham dificuldade em aceitar as comemorações do Arsenal.
All the way through, they've wanted to emulate what Tottenham have done. We were the first British club to win a European trophy. They've only won 2, we've won 3. We were the first club in the 20th century to win the double. Again, they wanted to emulate that. We were the first club to win the FA Cup back-to-back. They wanted to emulate that. We were the first club to win the League Cup twice. Again, they tried to emulate that. Whatever we've done, we've always set the pace, and they've tried to follow.
Independente do orgulho dos recordes do Spurs, o Arsenal agora ditava o ritmo na região. E os novos dirigentes do Spurs tinham dificuldade em cumprir seus prazos.
I arrived at, I think it was November '87, and Arsenal had been doing great things. And of course they were way ahead, and we were going to be trying to catch them up, which wasn't going to be that easy.
Mas a administração de Venables conseguiu ofuscar seus rivais. 4 anos depois, ele liderou seu time em uma semifinal da FA Cup Arsenal em Wembley. O prêmio, a classificação para a final de 1991.
And Gary Lineker was in the team as well then. We had this fantastic performance in the semi-final, and they were really at the top, Arsenal, and we outplayed them, I think it's fair to say.
The highlight for us has to be the '91 semi-final, Paul Gascoigne and all that.
Playing Arsenal at Wembley brought in a massive attendance, and it was a fantastic showpiece.
Tottenham went into the game clearly as underdogs. Arsenal were odds on to win the double. They virtually all but wrapped up the league that season, and you know, we were just up for it more than them. We wanted it more than they did, and you know, get Paul Gascoigne, great start.
He ran straight over to the bench and he just jumped on me and he just said, "The England goalie." He said he only tried to save it. And I always remember his mad eyes and him screaming that out.
I call it the semi-final that I went to. I didn't play, I went there.
O outro herói do Tottenham naquele dia foi Gary Lineker, que marcou mais 2 e fez com que aquele dia ficasse marcado na memória dos fãs. O artilheiro do futebol inglês participou da vitória de 3-1 sobre os antigos inimigos. Mas enquanto o Spurs comemorava, a metade vermelha e branca do norte de Londres já estava tentando esquecer.
I was the only goon at my school, and 3 of my then best mates were Tottenham fans. So, well, the next morning I basically cried, feigned injury and illness, and begged my dad not to send me to school. Seeing as he was trying to do the same thing to get out of work, he sort of couldn't really stop me. I had the day off, but it was horrible.
That was a magnificent game, and that team was really starting to blend. And I must say there was a lot of fantastic performances through the team. Gazza always gets the credit for it, and quite rightly. I mean, the boys would be very happy to say it was such a great team performance.
Tottenham beat us in the semi-final, the famous Gascoigne goal, and that was the biggest thing they had over us for a long time, and serious grief over that for a period. But fortunately, that only lasted 2 years, because 2 years later we played them in the semi-final again.
Os dois lados estavam de volta em Wembley para a revanche. Desta vez, no entanto, não havia Paul Gascoigne no Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, it's back to Wembley again, same expectations. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same game. Tottenham couldn't get their game going, and 1-0 to the Arsenal, which obviously was a renowned chant under the George Graham era.
That was a wonderful moment. I mean, Tony Adams is Mr. Arsenal, epitomises everything that's great about Arsenal. And for Donkey to win the derby was sweet, and that was the T-shirt that everyone wore for about 4 years afterwards.
Na verdade, desde o gol de Gascoigne, foram poucos os momentos nessa rivalidade que os fãs do Spurs puderam comemorar. Essa fase teve muito a ver com um homem, Arsène Wenger, que chegou ao clube em 1996. Ele trouxe um estilo mais fluido e o sucesso acabou vindo.
In Arsenal's time, a fantastic period, a golden period, which may never be repeated.
Wenger's a revolutionary, he's a visionary. We've played the greatest football these shores have ever seen. Watching the Arsenal teams of 2003 and 2004 was something I'll never see again.
Naquela temporada de 2003-2004, o Arsenal foi campeão invicto e não houve humilhação maior para os torcedores do Tottenham. O Arsenal estava jogando um futebol e para desistir. Você esteve com Luiz Alberto Volpe. Obrigado pela companhia e até o próximo programa da série Rivalidades.